Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. Dre here, just giving you guys a different kind of video today. So I post my list after events like Orlando and San Diego and all those good events online on my Twitter. And of course, the main thing I get is, why do you play this guy? Why do you play deoxys? Now, I'm going to dive into my reasoning behind fitting it into the deck, the different matchups it works in, because it does work in more than just the Lost Box, which is the initial reason why I put it in the list. And then just, explain like, hey, this is why I have it in here. This is how I set up, and this is how I like to use it. In certain matchups, you don't use it. In certain matchups, you have to use it a specific way, or it's not going to get you the prize trade and stuff like that that you're looking for. So that's kind of what today's video is. So let's start off with Lost Box. The main reason why I put deoxys into Mew is I wanted a better answer to Lost Box, because Mew typically has a bad time against single prize decks. Now Lost City has fixed that when it comes to like fringe decks and Regigigas and Zorobox, stuff like that. It still struggles against the Lost Box because there is so much flexibility and versatility in Lost Box. So let's just start off with a typical turn. You rolled heads on the coin flip. You won. You're going first. Start Mew, right? You start your Mew. We have Genesect in hand. We have a VIP pass. We play our VIP pass, and we get our deoxys, our Genesect. We hit, we hit quick balls, stuff like that. We get another deoxys, and we get to our Oricorio. Ideally, in a perfectly drawn up world, my bench is going to look something like this. I'm going to have two Genesects, I'm going to have deoxys, and I'm going to have an Oricorio on the bench going first. So we do that. Cool. We attach our fusion energy to deoxys. We retreat into our deoxys because we don't want to risk a Drapion being in Lost Box, because it's possible. And then we pass the turn over. They have their typical start. They comfy. They play a VIP pass, and they get to their, they have their ninja. They have their Cremrat. They have their follow up comfy. They go. They get stuff done. They get some flower selectings done. And let's say they pivot into their Cremrat. They get chip damage. Cool. From there, sweet. Second turn, we're just going to go ahead and attach our DTE. It's going to get us the knockout. And that's when we get to use our disruption, and I have the judge. There's two times in Lost Box. There's two crucial points in Lost Box where you really want to disrupt. Early game when they're trying to set up, and then late game when they've accumulated all their resources that they want in their hand, and they've already burned a lot of resources trying to accumulate those cards. So having the PAL pad also helps us bring that judge back and use it later in the game when we want to disrupt that part of the game. They spit innocently, so we photon boost back. We take the KO. Hopefully they struggle after the judge to get another Cremrat down, or to get a Raikou or whatever there is, and we get two knockouts. If not, cool, we just follow up with the other deoxys. We attach and Alessa Sparkle to it, and hopefully we can get a 2-1 trade there, because there is, if they do play the Zigzagoon, the fusion energy is going to prevent a Zigzagoon ping, and they're only going to hit 90 because of the Oricorio. Say you don't have Oricorio, they're still only hitting 110, which is going to be 10 short, and they can't ping damage. So even if you whiff your Oricorio or it's prized, that's what you're trying to force in the early game, is that 2-1 trade, and then you usually find a way mid to late game to 2-1 trade by taking some damage with into your Mew. You take a KO, they chip it, then you take another KO and Psychic Leap away. You just took 2-1. They're not going 2-3. And the trade is almost insurmountable at that point, because you've already taken a 2-1 trade early in the game. Going second is even easier. They get their board set up. You get your setup. You hit the Alessas. You get your fusion energy onto your two deoxys. You put your DTE. You take out a Comfy. They promote Comfy. Cool. Get into their chorus. All those shenanigans. They spit. Cool. We just get another energy attached to a bench deoxys or something like that. We hit that judge, and then we hit them with a photon boost again. We just 2-1 traded, and we use the judge. And we're hoping that disruption we can force a 3-1 trade, which I've done plenty of times because the judge can be crucial and just destroy your Lost Box opponents. So there's plenty of times in the matchup where you can get a 2-1 trade and disrupt, and it's honestly so great. The Oricorio prevents amazing Raikou from taking a double knockout. If they do have to go through the Raikou just to get a knockout, they're burning so many resources. They're only going to knock out the Oricorio, or they're going with a Rayquaza, and it's forcing them, if they do want to keep the 1-1 trade, they're going to burn resources that they don't want to early, which is just going to bite them later in the game, which is what we want. We want to force them either to give us the 2-1 trade, or you're going to burn resources that you're going to miss later, and I'm going to eventually just go win late game because I'm going to out-resource you. Now, against decks like the Lugia, it's a little bit different. Let's say we start our Mew, we get... Oh, like I said, these are going to be ideal setups. I know that Pokemon, you're not ideally starting the way you want to every single time. Even with Lost Box, if I can just get one of these and do it once, where I 2-1 trade early in the game, and then I just Mew it the rest of the way, I'm cool with that. You only need 1. 2 is a luxury, or even if you can manage to get it off mid to late game, it's really great. It has the flexibility, which is what I wanted when I put this deck together, is I wanted flexibility. Honestly, the main reason why I built this list the way I did is I was looking at Giratina. Giratina has really good power as a V-Star, but it's a 2-prizer. So what does it do? It attacks to its single prizers early and mid game, and being able to do that as Mew, you know, is what I wanted, what I needed to keep up with Lost Box Giratina. And it also does make Drapion. If you run into Drapions in other lists, if you're able to attack with these single prizers correctly, you just make the Drapion useless. It makes it a lose condition at that point because they put it down and give you free, easy 2 prize cards. Now, going against something like Lugia, we're going to go for the more typical Mew setup. You get our Meloetta down. We do still get the Deoxys down. And if we can, we get a 3rd Genesect or an Oricorio or a 2nd Mew, whatever you fancy. We'll just say, for this sake of argument, we go with a 3rd Genesect. So imagine there's a 3rd Genesect there. So, of course, opening turn, if we go 2nd against Lugia, we're going to sparkle our Fusion Energies to our Meloetta, to our Deoxys. We attach our energy to Meloetta. We have our Power Tablet. We get the donk on a Lugia, but they got double Lugia set up on their first turn because they saw that they're playing Mew, so they don't take a risk. Even though I've played plenty of opponents where they only get the 1 Lugia and it's over turn 2. So we're gonna say we're going against an opponent that had really great start as well, so it's not just over on the 2nd turn. We take the donk. They have a 2nd Lugia set up. They managed to get their Archeops discarded, all that good stuff. They have to play a fish down to get that playoff though. So doing that, it gives us the opportunity to use a Pokecatcher or a boss. We already sparkled to that. Now it's simple. All we need is a DTE and a tablet to bring up that fish. We KO it. If they have a Crobat because they're playing a weird list, or you're going against Eternatus, cool. 2 tablets gets us a KO on a bat. Now what's really awesome is that if you're say your opponent just whiffed the V-Star, they had to use, or they put another V down because they didn't have another attacker they needed, something like that. There's another V, basic V, like a Stoutland or something like that on the field. Cool, you boss that up. You want those 2 prizes, but you can't get through a V-Star without V-Maxing, and you don't want to risk it because you don't know if there's Drapion. It's game 1. A belt and 2 tablets is going to give you the same amount of prize cards as a V-Max to a V-Star. You're going to get 2 prize cards, the same amount of resources that you would burn, 2 tablets and a belt, 3 mods. On a Mew V-Max to take out a V-Star, you just took out a basic V with a single prize Pokemon. You're not risking 3 prizes, you got 2 prize cards. That's another reason why Deoxys is really helpful in even non-Lost Box matchups. It helps get an even more advantageous price trade, and then they knock that out last turn. You're just attached DTE and V-Maxing, and you're Echoing Horn bossing a fish or something like that. Something easy to knock out for the game. Now, again, perfect your perfect world, but more times than not, with Mew, you draw into the cards you need. You get your setup that you want more times than not. The consistency of this deck was really insane. I've had plenty of really hot starts, but then I just, you know, sometimes it happens. You prize bad, you whiff one single card, it happens. Bad luck, stuff like that. But for the most part, this list has been very consistent in most of my matches that I've needed. I don't think that post rotation it gets worse either. I think Deoxys is a very helpful Pokemon in Mew post rotation. Fusion Mew is definitely going to be the more dominant version post rotation. You're going to have the single prize attackers that you want to trade with the baby Pokemon that eventually evolve into EXs, which is going to be really great. Most decks are going to be running Drapion. Like I said, if you do it the right way, you're going to make Drapion a lost condition for your opponent instead of a win condition, which is another thing I really wanted to focus on when I built the deck. Is I want to counteract Drapion, I want to beat Lost Blocks, and this build with the Deoxys does that. If you pilot it right, if you can get the knockouts in the correct sequence, if you know your matchup, which obviously if you're playing the deck, you're testing out every matchup and you should know every matchup inside and out, then you should be able to handle most of these matchups pretty easily by taking out the knockouts. Lead with a Meloetta, follow up with the Deoxys to kill an easy basic V or support Pokemon V, or even take out another single prizer to give you the trade in Lost Box. Just depending on what you're playing against. Regigigas, it gives you another single prize attacker, so you don't have to risk them popping off getting a Gigas kill on the VMAX, which is very scary sometimes. So again, a lot of different matchups that the Deoxys come in handy in. It handles a lot of the fringe stuff. It makes it so much easier having another single prize attacker to go against Eternatus. Like I said, 2 mods, you're killing a bat. So if you can donk a bat or a E-turn with Meloetta, follow up with a Deoxys, then you're just a boss VMAX away from game, which is how I beat 2 different Eternatus in 2 different tournaments fairly handedly, as long as they didn't get like the Wheezing lock and I just got locked out and had no ways to play, which happens sometimes because sometimes that's how the cards drop. But if you have any questions, any comments, you want to know how a specific matchup goes, you know, ask your questions down below in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter. You can see my lists. You can ask me why this certain counts. You can ask me about certain matchups. I'm going to try and answer as many questions. I always try to, especially on Twitter. I respond whenever anybody hits me about, like, hey, why this card? What does this card do? Do you find it helpful? The answer most time is yes, and I'll give you the reason why. But I just want to take a second to do a slightly different video. Instead of just deck analysis of my deck from San Diego and Orlando, I figured, hey, let's just break down the main cards in my list that people are asking questions about. So those are kind of the main things, main points I wanted to hit on. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. It's King Dre Cloud with the 1 instead of the L on Twitter. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you liked the video. I'm going to be trying to get a little bit more uploads. We have the vlogs a little bit behind. My editor, she's been overwhelmed. There's a lot of projects she's been handling, but Arlington and San Diego vlogs and the interviews I had at Arlington will be coming out soon. Shout out to everybody that, you know, took their time to talk to me in that video as well. It's on the way. I didn't forget. We've just been, you know, really backlogged on content that we're going to be pushing out, but good news is we're going to be pushing it out, so there should be a lot of content coming. Streams are going to be a little bit more often as well, so, you know, hopefully I can just be a little bit more consistent. I'm working on it, guys. It's tough, but I'm trying. I will definitely be at Portland Regionals. I'm going to try to find my way into another regional somewhere this season. Milwaukee is an option. Charlotte is still potentially on the table, but it's not for sure. So I'm going to be working on trying to get to another regional besides Portland and Fresno. But I hope to see you guys soon. Stay woke, stay dope, stay safe. Catch you later.